We bring in Mr. Sal Capaccio, who is back in town after a late arrival from Houston. The Bills losing on Thursday Night Football 23-19. Josh Allen sacked 8 times in this game. He lost 70 yards on the sacks. A rough night. Beat up, home late. Welcome back, Sal.
Yeah, thanks. I think the sun was coming up when I walked in my door last night.
It's good to know the sun's coming up because on the football season, it's been a rough morning and a rough night.
It was for sure. Rough night in Houston last night. Going against the best defense in the league, you knew that for the Buffalo Bills. And, we said this yesterday. I said this time and time again yesterday. The key was not getting in third and long and allowing that pass rush to get you. And there were times where they did a nice job of that. And then when they got in third and long, it just was disastrous. And Josh tried to do too much a few times, took sacks on himself. But, most of the night, the offensive line was dominated by that pass rush. And the Bills lost this game up front. And they have done a really good job in their offensive line in most games over the last few years, but in this year included. The run game, pass protection, though, has been leaky a little bit this year, and it really showed itself last night. And that was a big reason why they lost this game, obviously.
Yeah. Well, let's get your arrow up, arrow down column and talk about what went right, what went wrong. Sal, we've also done the thing where we're looking into how frustrated Allen is and reading his face after some of these losses. Here's one where he gets beat up and cameras catch him on the sideline. What are we doing? He's asked about that. He says the play comes in late. I wonder if, when, how we get to a breaking point or any sort of material change on the offense. They already shuffled their receivers. We know they did that. I don't know what the next card to play really might be for this offense because it's predictable, and I feel like the quarterback's frustration has become apparent.
It has, and that was the reason he gave for his frustration on the sidelines, saying that on that 4th and 1, now not the one at the end of the game, obviously there was a false start there, but earlier in that quarter, they go for it, and James Cook gets stuffed, and he said the play came in late and he should have banged a timeout. Well, that's not good process. The play can't come in late. You got to be ready. And I thought the same thing on the sidelines. I thought to myself, boy, you gotta get this thing going here. Make sure you have the right play, and you can't just get up to the line and call 4th down play if you don't have the right play. It just if you get out of the huddle late, it does not give you time for checks at the line of scrimmage. And maybe you like the play you call, but everything just goes so quick. And then let's remember, when the play clock is running down, that allows a defense to just tee off and know when you're going to snap it, and they could just get right after you on first movement even before that. So that's a reason why he was frustrated in that moment. And you say predictable. I agree. I don't know what the next answer is, but part of the reason they're predictable, I think they're limited as well, Jeremy, right? I think they're limited in what they can do. We saw that again last night as far as, receivers and pass catchers. A couple of times it was nice to see a couple of guys making yards after catch, but again, not much available downfield. Hard to get things available downfield, though, when your quarterback's under duress, and it's not like you can take 5-step drops and have him step back there inside the pocket. So that happened very rarely last night. So just a lot of things that have to go into quote-unquote fixing this offense, I guess, and if you want to pin it on Joe Brady, that's fine. You want to pin it on the receivers, that's fine. I just think it's a mix of everything. I think if there were more options available to Joe Brady, it wouldn't be as predictable. But he's got to do a better job as well of finding answers, and especially when you have a pass rush that's happening like that last night.
Real quick, Sal, so what you're getting at, when you zoom out like that, I think you're right to do so. Some fans might listen and want to go after one person, but what you're kind of laying out there is a systemic offensive problem. And yes. I guess we'd get to who's responsible for that, right? Why? How could they get to this space where going from one of the best offenses in the league last year to a systemic problem that keeps coming up?
Well, I think the first thing you look at is the fact that they don't have the pass catchers that we've talked about for months here on the outside to win. Evidenced by the fact that the GM reportedly, tried to trade for a really big-time one in Jalen Waddle, in that report that came out a couple of weeks ago. So I think even he believes, according to that, they needed help, and they don't have it. You have your second-round pick from last year that has not developed into the player that everybody hoped and thought he might, to the point where he's being disciplined and being benched, and because of a short week, he's being benched. And by the way, just so everybody knows, McDermott basically said that yesterday, which is what I figured, which is it wasn't like he did anything wrong again, but it's a short week, and it's hard to get him back in the lineup after you have the output you have last week, for what happened with Keon Coleman, obviously, talking about here. So I think there's a lot that goes into it, and I don't think the quarterback has played his best football this year. Is he trusting what he's seeing? I'm not really sure. It's hard for me to sit here and go, has Josh Allen regressed? I don't think that's what it is. I think that he's so good, it's hard to say that, but I do think that you have to question what he's seeing, what he's trusting out there because of him knowing that they have maybe an issue on the offensive side that maybe he feels like he has to try and do more.
Well, and in this game, Sal, there was a new offensive problem that we're not used to, which is that Allen had the least amount of time to throw that he's had since week 10 of last season, and that was because the tackles couldn't block Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter. And I can't remember the last time we've had you on talking about how the tackles couldn't block the day before. Like, it doesn't really ever happen.
No, that's right. It wasn't a good night for the offensive line overall. And, I'm trying to think of several things that happened here. Deion Dawkins has the false start late in the game. Why does that happen? 4th and 1. Because he's been getting beat, and he wants to make sure on a critical 4th and 1 that he's in position to make sure he doesn't get beat. So he triggers a little bit early, right? He's kind of antsy because he wants to make sure he's in position. That's what happens when you put that kind of pressure on your quarterback. And from the Texans side, and we talk about from the Bills side sometimes, man, Joey Bosa's so good, he might cause a false start on a guy. Well, that's what happened at the end of the game. Spencer Brown gets hurt towards the end of the game. He wound up coming back in. He wound up leaving. He had his arm in a sling in the locker room. We talked to him. He said it does hurt. He hasn't had a update yet on where that lies, but I think overall, Joe. But the simple point is they got beat. They got beat in the interior too. You watch a couple of those runs. The 4th down run, Osiris Torrance got beat badly. If you look at it, like he got beat to the inside. He doesn't hold his block. If Osiris Torrance holds his block, there might be a lane there for James Cook. Maybe not because everybody was closing pretty quickly, but he didn't have an opportunity there. And you're right, Joe. 8 sacks, 12 quarterback hurries. I mean, Josh Allen was down on the ground hurt, right? Remember last year in Houston, down on the ground hurt. I'm sorry, in Baltimore. This time even longer. It did not look good. He is a tough son of a gun. We know that. Yep. But he got beat up badly last night.
Sal, let's get to the Barnes Firm Injury Report, brought to you by the Barnes Firm. For help call 1-800-8-million. It was a long list. Like it was a busy little highway there to the blue tent. Terrell Bernard, Spencer Brown, Max Hairston, Josh, Khalil Shakir. Who am I missing? Anybody else that you remember going to the tent?
Didn't Cook go in there for a second?
I think James Cook. Yeah, I don't think I think it might have been an equipment issue or something.
Okay.
I don't think James Cook. There was no official injury on James Cook.
Got it.
So sometimes that happens during the game. Equipment. Guys even go to the bathroom basically in there sometimes. I'm just saying, like sometimes that
Sure.
happens and people go, guys in the tent. I'm like, yeah, I know it. He'll be out in a minute. Anyway, so the guys that we did have the injury updates on, though, yeah, you're right. It was Maxwell Hairston, head evaluation, didn't return to the game. Spencer Brown.
Can I ask you a question on that? When they said he's heading to the locker room for an evaluation for a concussion, to me, I thought once you're going to the locker room for that, you have one. That's just like a guess here. They would do that in the blue tent. If they're going to the room, they've decided.
Most likely correct.
Okay.
We never got an official out for the head evaluation. I believe it was just the evaluation. You're probably right on that, Jeremy, though. I also think it was late. When did he leave? Was it the late third quarter?
Yeah.
Late third, so he didn't come back in, so that's probably a good indication there because you can tie this together, what you're saying, Jeremy, which is Dion was evaluated for a head injury. He came out of the blue tent and went back in the game, right? So that's another one that you see there. A.J. Epinesa had a neck injury. He went back in the game. He was cleared. I mean, the one that's really tough to see was Terrell Bernard, right? That's friendly fire from Matt Milano coming in, and Matt Milano's face mask hits Terrell Bernard's arm as it's engaged, and the elbow and arm just go the wrong way, and that's not good. He came out of the locker room with a sling on and watched from the sidelines the rest of the night. So I think that covers it all. Maybe there's more because there were a lot of guys.
Didn't Shakir go into the tent at some point?
Again, nothing official on that I recall that we had. I'm trying to remember. He did, though. I think he did walk in there for a minute. I don't think we got anything official on him.
Well, the other one that I don't think he ever went in the tent, Sal, but we all saw it, was Allen went down. I mean, he went down a couple times. The first time he was down, and that was the one where maybe most people thought he actually was injured.
By the way, I'm sorry. Khalil Shakir, now I remember. Sorry, it was a long night with this stuff.
Yeah.
I believe it was a shoulder cleared.
Okay.
Shoulder, I think, was clear. Khalil did go in, but he was cleared to return.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So on Allen, Sal, like, did you have any perspective on like when he went down? And it looked like they wrapped his elbow, but it was his non-throwing elbow. But again, like there were a couple of different little things it seemed like with him all night.
Okay, so on the one where he was down pretty early, the first quarter there, it looked bad because it looked like he kind of lost the ball when he fell, and then his hand got pinched under his face mask as he was reaching back, okay? So that looked like, the hand injury. He said after the game it was a shoulder, and his shoulder was numb, but then it was fine, and but that's what he said. And I think he's referring to the same play because he was banged up a few times in the game. But he said his shoulder was numb. He went on that one where he was down for a long time in the first quarter. He went to the sidelines. You could see him on the broadcast even say, "I'm fine" to one of the trainers, but they kept checking on him. I mean, I looked at his elbow. It looked like he left some skin on the turf. I'll tell you that. But he was shaking it out a little bit. But nothing ever seemed like he was in any sort of danger to not go back in the game at any point. To be quite honest.
Okay. We saw. The TV broadcast saw this too? I don't know if you did. It looked like he was shaking his right wrist on the final drive.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so too. So, and I think again, maybe that was where he said the numbness from the shoulder because there were so many things that were happening with him, and that might have been what he was talking about. But he was Josh is a really tough guy. I mean, he prides himself on being available, and we've had these injury scares over the years. He's gone to the tent a couple times and things like that. But 10 days to lick the wounds here for everybody, and hopefully, be as healthy as possible against the Pittsburgh Steelers because they need these 10 days after that.
Did McDermott sound like in postgame to you, Sal, that might have been the thing that's bothering him the most about the offense? Because I think in listening to him, it was maybe 3 different times where he's mentioning it's not healthy to have our quarterback getting hit this much.
When he talked about that, I kept thinking about what we've talked about here, which is how many times I've said to you guys that we've talked about. It really feels like the Bills have played this long game all year about their main goal is to keep Josh Allen healthy. And why do they play offense the way they play offense sometimes? It's because they know they can't have that happen what happened last night. If they play offense where they have to have their quarterback's getting hit, he's not lasting and they have no shot to do anything. Their goal this year is to keep Josh Allen as healthy as possible, to have a healthy Josh Allen in the playoffs. That has translated in some ways to run the ball as well as we can. Don't put him in situations like that. Let's play that type of game. But also what that does is bring in for littler margin for error, right? And that's what happened last night. You have that little margin for error. And then when you get to 2nd and 8 and 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 8, now he's got to drop back, and there comes your margin for error where now you got to put him in that position you don't want to put him in. And I agree, Joe. It's what he said last night. One of the first things he pointed to was that 12 quarterback hurries. He said our quarterback got hit 12 times. So according to the official game book from the NFL last night, I looked right after the game, 12 quarterback hurries, 11 tackles for loss by the Texans. I mean, those are monster numbers.
Yeah, disruption.
Some of those are too the play calling is going to be, I think, on trial the next couple of days as we have the mini bye. There were drives where there were screens that were getting them into negative plays. Sometimes it was runs or it was sacks. Like yesterday really was a story of how many times they put themselves in a 2nd and long or 3rd and long situation.
Agreed. You can't do that against that team. I mean, you look at the overall numbers for the offense, you're going against the number 1 defense in the entire league. You actually, the Bills had 19 points. That's actually higher than what the Texans allow per game, right? I mean, that's how good the Texans defense is. And I'm not saying
defense didn't give up 7 of those though.
Yeah, that's true. There you go. So they only had 12, so they were held to lower. But I mean, it's a tough defense to go against. I think you have to remember that. You look at the overall numbers. I mean, the Bills did have 326 yards, pretty average, 4.9 yards a play. They outgained the Texans, 4.9 to 4.7. This game, to me, we knew it would be like that for the offense, where you're just going to have to find ways to get to positions to score some points. One of the areas where the Bills really failed this game was red zone, 0 for 2 in the red zone. I like the fact that they went early on 4th down. That was a very big critical 4th down call. It was from their own 28. They get the first down. They get another fourth down later when they throw it downfield to Ty Johnson. What a great play call. Give him credit for that. But then later, 2 critical fourth downs that you need near the end of the game, and you don't convert, and that's where this game ultimately lies, on those critical those critical plays and those critical downs.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. All right, Sal, arrow up, arrow down. I mean, there's a lot of down. We'll get to a lot of that. Who had the arrows up?
Let me get to you. How about the hook and ladder play? Nice play. I asked Khalil Shakir after the game, and that's something you work on since training camp. He said, yeah, we go back, we start there. But he goes, we work on it quite a bit. We call it our gotta-have-it play and a gotta-have-it situation. Well, they had to have it, and that was really well executed. Ray Davis on the kick return. I mean, he has been waiting to bust one. They came close. Guys, a big story in this game was field position, too. I mean, the Bills field position, it's one thing to have bad field position against a bad defense. When you give yourself that kind of field position against that defense, you make the game so much harder. The average field position in this game between the two teams, the Texans, their own 36. The Bills, their own 20. And what a difference that is. And the Bills, again, and it's been an issue all year, penalties on returns. Punt return penalty early in the game. Kick return penalty early in the game. Ray Davis has had a few nice kick returns this year. That got against Miami, there was one. Gets called back. Finally, though, after last week, a few that came close, they bust one out. So on his birthday, by the way, Ray Davis with a long kick return, 97 yards. Yep, for the touchdown. Third down defense was great. Second half defense was great.
The Texans were 2 for 12 on third down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, third down. Second half defense was great, guys. I mean, the Texans had 60 total yards. 60 in the second half. And the Bills still couldn't win this game, obviously. I also gave one for doing a good job on Nico Collins. And this was the guy you had to stop, and they really did. 3 catches for 55 yards. You give me that all day, you're playing Nico Collins.
Yep.
On only 3 targets also. Really, the only complaint, Sal, all day I had on the defense was just that last drive at the first half. Like, that is that's a tough 7 to give
terrible.
up.
That's right, Joe. That was a really tough drive to give up. You can't – I mean, against that defense, against that quarterback, a minute and a half left essentially after the kickoff return, whatever it was, and they go down the field and score a touchdown. Not even a field goal. They get in the end zone, right? I mean, that's tough. I did give one arrow up to one player. I thought Cole Bishop played a strong game on defense. I mean, he was confident. He was hitting. He was around the ball. He has just become such a really important part of that defense in the middle of the field, and the way he's playing right now is obviously really good. Bernie agrees, by the way.
There you go.
About Cole Bishop right there. And what was the other one I was going to bring up here? I don't know. Yards after catch obviously were very good as well. So, it's something that the Bills pride themselves on to do, but you can't rely on that all the time. You got to have answers down the field. And once again, that was something they didn't have in this game.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Highline. All right, Sal, we'll let you go. And, thanks for coverage and a late night. I know it's an early morning for you, so we appreciate it. Yeah, take a nap.
Yeah, well, I'll have the Extra Point show today, so people can still call up and say what they need to say about this one, obviously. So, yeah, thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, Sal. Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. It is Buffalo Bills football Friday, but kind of football Monday. And we'll have a football Monday on Monday, too. We'll do it all.